It's world premiere time. Hello everyone from Yellow Cab Studios in Aubervilliers near Paris, and welcome to the Nuendo 14 world premiere. My name is Timo Wildenheim. I'm the head of Pro Audio at Steinberg, and here with me is the co-founder and owner of Yellow Cab, Stephen Gutti. Stephen, thanks for having us today.
Thank you, Timo. It's a pleasure and it's an honor, and we have a history that goes back a few years because we've been using Nuendo since Nuendo 2, and today I'm really happy to be here with Timo and the whole Steinberg crew to launch Nuendo 14. It's a great moment.
And now it's time to dive deeper into the new features of Nuendo 14. Senior Product Specialist Aldo Lamanna has prepared something for you.
Hello everyone and welcome again. It is my pleasure to present to you the wide range of tools and improvements we have created for this new version of Nuendo, Nuendo 14. Let's dive first into some tools created for automated dialogue replacement. And we start with something that has been long requested. Taking your wishes into consideration, we have improved the way the video overlays can be displayed on the video player in Nuendo. As you might know, Nuendo comes with an ADR taker that enables us to record on specific sections of the project according to the position of the markers, with the possibility of displaying the dialogue as a video overlay. This functionality has now been expanded. To show you this, I will open the ADR setup window, and on the video section I can see there are now new text overlays options. I can change my main overlay to display any attribute present on the markers. For example, I have a dialogue translation in this marker, which is in Japanese. If I want to display that on the video player, I go to my main overlay and select the dialogue translation attribute, and now the text in Japanese is displayed on the video player accordingly. We also have a new top overlay, so a secondary overlay. We can assign also any attribute present on the marker over here. For example, you might want to have the original dialogue displayed, or maybe the character. In case you cannot read the Japanese text, you are always sure that you're recording the right character at the right time. And this top overlay can be displayed on the left, center, or the right section of the video player. The text size can now be adjusted, so we can have bigger or smaller text depending on the talent, depending on the display. The text color is now customizable, so you can change it to be any color of your preference. The background color can be also changed according to your taste, and the background opacity can be also adjusted. You can even make it disappear, and then only the dialogue will be displayed as an overlay in the video player. In the general overlays, now we have the option to show time code right here on the ADR video setup section. This was always in another menu, so now you don't have to go to another menu. You can just enable and disable it here, and you can also place it on the left, center, or right section of the video player. If you have the top overlay and the time code on the right section, they will not collide, so no worries about that. And worth mentioning is that the video engine has also been improved. 4K video is supported. If your system allows it, 8K video is also supported, and for higher resolutions, Nuendo will adapt the video to be played accordingly in your project. There's no need to be downscaling your video files to work on them in your Nuendo project. The next feature is AI-based, and it will dramatically improve your dialogue workflow. Let's say I am working on a film containing multiple tracks of dialogue recordings. from multiple characters, and I want to perform an ADR session, but I do not have the script at hand. As you can see, my markers are completely empty. So what to do in this case? Well, we have implemented an AI-powered speech-to-text feature that can transcribe the recorded dialogue into ADR markers, saving you tons of time in the process, and that is called dialogue transcription. We have 3 different modes, fast being the quickest one. We would recommend to use balanced or accurate, the third one being the one that takes the most time to calculate. I find balanced to work pretty well, so I will select balance for this project, and of course you have to select the source channel. In my case, I have all the dialogue recordings routed into one group called the dialogue group. So I'm selecting that as a source. And then on the marker settings, we have 2 options, so 2 different kinds of workflow. I will select for now the second one because I want to add new markers for each sentence, which means that apart from the transcription, I also get a start and an end point. So after this, I am basically ready to start recording my ADR session. You select then the marker where you want the transcription to go to, and the attribute, in this case is dialogue. Select the section of the project you want to transcribe. I just pressed P on my keyboard, so I set the locators with that letter P on my keyboard, and I am ready to start the transcription. The good news is that this is an offline process, so you can still move things around in your project, you can still edit and continue working while it is calculating, and now I can see that my marker has been populated with the dialogue transcription with start and end points. One of the reasons I chose this project is because it has dialogue recordings that are very well made, with good microphones, let's call it, and it also has a very distant radio voice that I could never understand, honestly, and now I finally know what it's saying. So let's hear this example now.
The enemy battle colossus has taken position on the other side of the plane.
Works pretty good. I see numbers, I see percentages, so balanced work very good in this project. And the other workflow that is present on the marker settings can be used, for example, for dubbing, and that is the add transcription to selected markers. That means that you will add a transcription to a marker of your selection, so a previously created marker. As an example, I will choose an event, I press P, and I will create a cycle marker. Right now it is empty, but I can tell Nuendo to transcribe that event into the marker I just created. Let's try that. And now I can see that the marker has been populated accordingly, so if you want the transcription to go to a certain section of your project, we also support that kind of workflow. This speech recognition technology does not translate inside Nuendo, but if you want to translate this, you could select the markers. I just pressed P to make the selection with the range, and you could export this transcription as a CSV marker, translate it outside Nuendo, and then bring it back to your project, importing the CSV marker with the translated text. Now we come to a feature that has been requested for a long time. And how about reducing the editing time by half? Well, let's take a look. We have optimized the event volume curves functionality and added new editing capabilities to the range selection tool. One of my favorite additions is called audio segment editing. For that, I select the range tool. In this case, I have a dialogue recording on this track, and with a modifier key, Nuendo can now automatically detect the words on the dialogue recording. Pretty handy to have. A new tool appears on the top, and I can quickly adjust the volume of the highlighted selection by either lowering or raising it as desired. And since the waveform shows me a visual feedback, it is pretty easy to set the proper gain stage before the audio goes into the mixing console. And you might wonder how this volume is being written into the event, which takes me to the next improvement that has to do with event volume curves, and I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. I will select the draw tool, and when clicking on the event, I can now see the event's volume curves appear. We can insert points or freely draw curve points, and if we want to select them to further edit them, we just select them with the draw tool. Smart tools appear, enabling us to lower the selection or tilt it, move it, and even smooth the way the envelope is being applied. And to erase some of the dots, we just simply select them with the draw tool and press delete on our keyboard. Once the event volume curves have been properly set, you will see that they will appear when hovering over the event. And if you prefer to always have them shown on your project, we have a new preference under the event display. In the audio section, you can tell Nuendo to always show the event volume curves. Also new, we have a volume offset button on the lower left corner of every audio event. And here a fader appears, and we can change the volume of the whole event as desired. Another new function that might be handy when working on big projects especially is that with the range tool, you can select a section of the project, and then Nuendo will solo and only play that selected section. Let's try this.
Das macht mich neugierig auf Klänge.
This works also with multiple tracks. So if you want to audition multiple tracks, a selection of multiple tracks at once, Nuendo will also do that. Which is pretty handy, especially when you have hundreds of tracks and you want to just listen to a small section of your project. One of the most important aspects of a great mix is to have the perfect balance between the dialogue and all other audio elements. With Nuendo 14, you can create an automated mix with no effort. Let's say I have been working on a project, I have music and sound effects already in place according to the video, I am happy with the mix, and then I receive a dialogue recording. I import the dialogue recording into the project. In this case, is the track colored in yellow on the top. And when I play it back, I realize I need to adapt my whole mix to emphasize the dialogue, to make it more intelligible. Let's hear this example.
We are specialists in creating audio experiences. To create a sound environment with visuals to it has to be spot on. If sound gets too important, it will distract you from the actual story.
It is here where this new feature comes into play, and it is called adaptive background attenuation. This new feature can quickly adapt the balance of my mix by writing volume automation on selected signals according to the dialogue recording. On the settings, we have 2 attenuation profiles. VoiceOver has a moderate response with softer blends, and audio description has a quicker response. The clearance will dictate how much attenuation will be applied as the volume automation, and we can select a foreground signal. In my case, that is the dialogue in English, and we have up to 4 different signals we can assign to be attenuated, called background signals. As signal 1, I will assign my music stem group track. This is a group track where I have all my music routed into. And my signal number 2 is going to be the sound effects stem group track. Everything seems in place. I apply the volume automation. It will be applied according to the locators of my project. And we can see the automation being reflected on the stem tracks, which are colored in blue. Let's hear how this sounds after the process.
We are specialists in creating audio experiences. To create a sound environment with visuals to it, it has to be spot on. If sound gets too important, it will distract you from the actual story.
I can now understand the dialogue pretty well, and important to know is that this is an offline process, meaning it will quickly write the automation even when working on long duration projects. We have implemented the same feature into the MPEG-H renderer. For those occasions where we have more than one language, MPEG-H Audio allows us to create custom presets where we can specify which language will be heard when selecting them. These presets will be then available on the viewer's side, meaning they can enjoy the content in the language they prefer. The adaptive background attenuation can be also applied specifically for which one of these presets, balancing the mix according to the duration of the different dialogue recordings of the different languages. This requires a few steps, but once it is set up, then it will write the automation in an offline manner in just one go. To do this, we go to the gain automation section of the MPEG-H renderer, and I'm going to create a gain sequence. I can now select the English dialogue as my trigger signal that will be used as the reference to adapt the volume to the music and sound effects. The ABA button, that's short for Adaptive Background Attenuation, is here. We press it and now we can select the foreground signal, also the attenuation profile and the clearance, and then I can apply the settings. I will do the same thing for the Spanish language dialogue recording. I will do it quickly this time. I will create the gain automation. I put the dialogue in Spanish as the trigger that will be targeted to my music sound effects. Press ABA, select the foreground signal, select the clearance, apply the settings. Once this is done, I simply write enable the automation, and then I can apply the ABA. It's been applied, and if I open the automation on my output bus, I can see that this automation is being written according to the language of the presets. So they're not the same, and it was done online in a very quick manner. Let's just hear the example to see how it sounds.
We are specialists in creating audio experiences.
Para crear un entorno sonoro con elementos visuales,
Visuals to it, it has to be spot on.
si el sonido adquiere demasiada importancia,
It will distract you from the actual story.
The next feature relates to game audio. For this section, our game audio specialist Sebastian Mönch will showcase the new improved version of Game Audio Connect.
Thank you, Aldo. And welcome from my side as well. I'm more than excited to show you the brand new game audio related features in Nuendo 14. Now, Nuendo has been able to connect with Wise for a long time through Game Audio Connect. With Nuendo 14, we're introducing a brand new Game Audio Connect version, which is version 3. Now let me paint you a picture. You're working on the sound design of a game. You might have already created some sound effects and want to try alternatives, or you're starting from scratch and just starting the entire process. Now, wouldn't it be great if you could trigger play actions in the game and preview sounds that you might select in Nuendo or that you have already created, without having to export them and import them into Wise? Now let me tell you this. With Game Audio Connect 3, you can do exactly that. Let's have a look. As you can see, I already have a game open. This game is currently connected to Wise and the corresponding Wise project. So if I trigger a game action, it will trigger the corresponding Wise event and also the corresponding sound effects object. Let's have a quick listen. Okay, now I would like to try alternative sounds that I've also prepared and see if they match the play action. And I would like to do that without having to export them into Wise first. So I can do exactly that using Game Audio Connect 3. Let's go over to Nuendo. This is the Game Audio Connect window. This is connected to Wise at the moment. And you can see these two new buttons, Preview and Loop. So let's go ahead and hit Preview. And now I just need to select something in Nuendo. It can be an individual audio effect. It can be multiple ones. Let's start with a single one. And now I'm going to go back into the game and let's listen to what's happening. Now, as you can see and hear, Wise, instead of triggering whatever I have set up in Wise as the sound effects object, it will trigger playback in Nuendo for the selection that I've made. Let's try a different sound, maybe this one. As you can see, I can just draw a selection and include multiple layers of a sound. Maybe you want to try which layers to include. And again, I'm just going to go right back into the game and let's try this sound. Okay, clearly too long and a bit over the top. Okay, but you get the idea. So this is Game Audio Connect 3. Again, all you have to do is connect to Wise, enable Preview, and make a selection in Nuendo, and you're ready to go. Let's do that one more time. That's it, at least for now, regarding Game Audio Connect 3. I would like to show you one more feature. If you're working in game audio, you're also working with asset lists. And of course, you can import these asset lists as CSV marker into Nuendo. However, if the asset list does not contain any timecode, all of your markers would be placed in the same spot on the timeline in Nuendo. Well, not anymore. I have imported a dialog list for one of the characters in the game. Just going to hit OK. And let's have a look at the new function, which is called Generate Custom Timecode. What it will do is it will create per cycle marker according to your settings, for example, a fixed length of, let's say, 5 seconds, create all those markers on the timeline. Since we are recording dialogue, I would like to use the length attribute source, in this case dialogue, to have Nuendo determine automatically how long each individual cycle marker should be. I can add a safety margin, and of course I can set the language, and I can also set a spacer between the markers. Let's set it to 1 second, which makes it easier for later editing. I'm just going to hit OK and create the marker track. And as you can see, we now have individual cycle markers containing the dialogue line and of course an individual length, which in turn is determined by the length of the dialogue line. Now you're ready to do your ADR takes and record the dialogue. And one more thing, Using the marker chunk export functionality in Nuendo 14, you can also embed markers into your audio files, which can then be read, for example, by Wise, which can be used to either show dialogue lines, or you could trigger animations from that. So in this case, I have exported the audio files for this character and included the mouth open markers right here. And this uses a very basic animation system for the facial animation of the character. So if we have a look in Wise, so this is one of the audio files, you can see these are the markers that I've exported along with the audio file. They're embedded in the audio file. And each time one of those markers is hit, the character animation will start. Well, let's have a look.
Moin Emma, how did the sample recordings go?
Really well. I'm done. I've put them on the server already.
Great, I'll get started right away with the implementation in Hellion.
Oh, and the game that you saw in the demo? Well, more on that later. But for now, back to you, Timo.
And there's even more to discover. Nuendo 14 will be available on March 19, 2025, with the grace period already started on February 19. In addition, you may have noticed that we're running a special sales promotion at the moment for Nuendo 13. So everyone purchasing Nuendo 13 in this current sale will be eligible for a free update to Nuendo 14. Looking forward to your feedback on Nuendo 14, on this new version. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you around.